This episode is brought to you by Blue Door Financial. Blue Door Financial will help you save money and reduce taxes to live a fuller financial life. To learn more, visit Blue Door Financial online at BLUdoorfinancial.com. That's BLUdoorfinancial.com. Hi, I'm Bill Corcoran Jr., and I'm your host for the On the Stacks podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Bob Courtright, president of Courtright & Associates. What's up, podcast episode 91 of the On the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door studio. Welcome to the show, Bob.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Yeah, this is awesome. You are the master networker himself.
That's what I tell myself.
Do you?
Yeah.
Hashtag, what does Bob know?
There you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, you and I have known each other for some time now, and speaking of networking, I mean, that's, I believe, how we met at some networking event, whether it was NEPA Networkers or Power or something. I don't know.
I had to be Power.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You think?
I think so. I wish I could remember exactly
but
when I don't, but it had to be Power.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk a little bit about, networking. I mean, you have a great deal of knowledge in networking. It kind of goes hand in hand with your business. Like I said to you earlier before we came on, ironically, you started your business the year I was born. I'm not trying to date you here, but I just thought it was very ironic.
It really is. And although I started when I was in third grade, it was when you were born. I think my first job was placing crossing guards, maybe. I don't remember, but it started a long time ago.
Yeah.
So what I did with that is, and I tell people this all the time, that I started it when I was building a house, had a 2-year-old, and my wife was pregnant. And people looked at me, they look at me a lot of times like I'm crazy, but even then, like, what are you doing? And my thought was, well, you can't stop time. There is no perfect time to do things. If you wait for that perfect time, you'll be dead and you'll get nothing accomplished. So it was difficult, but almost like I remember being in college and when my kids were in college saying, I did better when I had a schedule and I was busier. So if you really want to do something, if it means something to you, anything that's important, you will find the time and you'll schedule and prioritize and all that. So glad I did it. It was the right thing to do. If you really want it that bad, you'll find the time, and I did.
Yeah. So what were you doing before that?
I was believe it or not, I was a CPA and an MBA in finance. I had started out. And again, I got out of school in accounting. I worked for a couple public accounting firms, and then I started working in private industry. I was a controller for 2 family businesses. And at that point, I thought, I'm such an arrogant jerk. I can't work for anyone else. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And it took me, I said, I have to find something to do because I can't work for anyone else. And I researched, I don't know how, I guess I came up with, because I think I was 26 years old and I was controller for a company. And I was really doing everything administratively. I was accounting and hiring, firing people and all that. And I thought, well, I have to find something to do. I have to find something to do that would be me. So one of the things I did was hire and fire people. And I thought, we need not an employment agency, but I thought we need a good executive search firm in our area. And along with that, I thought, well, I want to break it out into doing general work in Northeast PA, and then maybe find a specialty to go international with. So I just did a lot of research for a year, and I came up with this, and it was interesting. When I was in college, there was a guy named Jerry Roach. Now, if you look up Jerry Roach from Heidrick and Struggles, a good West Scranton guy, as I am, and all good people are, I believe, but he was a lead guy in Heidrick and Struggles, and he was identified as, for many years, the Michael Jordan of the recruiting industry. And I remember seeing him. He's a proud University of Scranton grad, always came back, always involved. And they used to have executives come back and speak. And I remember hearing him speak. And I thought, well, impressive guy, and then just forgot about it and went and had a beer. What do you do in college? And at some point, when I got into this, Jerry Roach. And this is pre-internet days. And I wrote him a letter, wrote back. I should have brought it. I laminated the thing, and he was really, and I know this is a kind of a weird thing to say, but someone said Jerry Roach is the kind of guy that will pick pocket your pocket and you'll be happy about it. I mean, he was smooth and not in a phony way, but a great guy. And so we communicated a couple of times back and forth, and it meant a lot to me. And one of the things it taught me, I mean, this was the guy. He was the industry. And for him to kind of reach back to me, that told me something. And one of the things it told me is that, whoever you are, you're never too big to reach out to people. And he did that. I'll never forget it. And he passed away a few years ago. I went back and saw him at the university at some point. I forget what it was, but that obviously that left an impression on me that he did that.
Yeah.
And I've carried that with me. And I've tried to be that way, try to say, hey, I thought at that point, if I ever get to any point of importance, that I'll remember what this guy did. And so I've tried to carry that. Not that I feel that I'm that important, but I thought anytime someone would reach out, you owe them something back.
Yeah.
And again, go look it up on your internet. Jerry Roach, Heidrick and Struggles.
What is there anything else you learned from him?
I think I never really thought about that. Now you just asked that, and I think maybe it was the beginning of the whole networking thing in my mind. That might have been the beginning of that. Just to stay connected, know what you're doing, be very friendly with people, give people your time, and make sure you stay connected to everyone. And this is like an Oprah moment here. I mean, I never really thought about that. That may have been the beginning of when I thought about just seeing what he did. Maybe
just kind of planted the seed.
It may have. That's funny.
Subconsciously.
I know you. So you're my counselor here. Do I get my Blue Cross or Geisinger card out?
I
take
cash.
that insurance.
I take
you take cash.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. That I don't have.
Shucks. Maybe if you sell those golf clubs.
Oh well. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'd rather go and get insurance then. Okay.
So all right. So you started the business, and how did you get started?
I got started, actually what I did, and a lot of times jokingly, I introduced myself as a very happily inactive CPA. So I'm thinking of this business. I'm finishing up grad school to get my MBA in finance. And again, researching, I want to do something. Now, at this point, now the second child is born, and he tends to want to eat, and he likes diapers, and my ex-wife liked diapers, so we needed some money. And so what I did for the first year or so, I went to the family business I was working for at the time and said, listen, in lieu of a raise, can you just give me a little more time? And I told him, I'm starting this business. I have someone working for me, but I started the business. And so I think it was like a year and a half. It started in 89. It was like 90, 91. I said, okay. And I let them know, like I didn't hide any of this. I said, okay, now I'm going to just go out on my own and do that. Because I knew I had to pay the bills. And back in those days, all my friends, well, I shouldn't say that. Some of the wives worked, some didn't. And we had decided at that point, we wanted her to stay home. My ex-wife was a teacher. We wanted her to stay home at least till the kids were in school. And that's what we did. So that was a lot of pressure. And looking back on it, I thought I handled it well. I did not handle it well. I thought I did.
Why didn't you? Like, what happened?
Well, we're guys, and guys are morons. And we internalize stuff. And maybe, I think maybe your generation or younger generation aren't as bad as what my generation was. But you got to be tough. You got to be strong. You don't show any weakness. And you're the man, and you take care of the family and all that. And so what I learned later is that when I was going through these pressures, I thought I was handling it well. And I thought I was keeping it away from the family. And I was not. And years later, like a couple of years later, I looked back and said, well, I might have snapped a little here. I wasn't really involved with the family when I should have been because my mind was elsewhere. I felt this tremendous pressure, to make that mortgage payment and do whatever. So I internalized everything, and I thought I was handling it, and I saw ways where I wasn't. I didn't learn that till later. So the first few years were kind of rough, and it got a little better than as time went on, and then some of the pressure was off because my ex-wife wanted to go back to work. I wanted her to actually stay home for another year or two. But she wanted to get out of the house. Yeah. So she went back and then healthcare, then she got healthcare and that made it a little easier and things were a little easier. But it was tough. And I think one of the things I've learned through the years is not to internalize things. And I would say this, and I don't have any problem admitting, I tell everyone I know, I've been through a fair amount of counseling. And I think I always say, we get our car inspected once a year. We should go get our head inspected at least twice a year. I have no problem with. I really think we should. I don't care if there's a stigma. I don't think there is anymore. So I try to tell other people that now too. And so I learned a lot through that, and I'm glad I did. I take it with me. But again, just going back, I tend to internalize stuff, and it just didn't play well. So the years go on, and it got a little easier. Having said that, being in my business 32 years, there's been a number of ups and downs. And so still, even being in business for a while, thinking you're successful, we all go through it. There are a few downs, and I thought, okay, how do I handle this better? And I think I did. I'm not sure. But I think sometimes, again, and I'm not saying maybe younger generation's better, but my generation tended, the man has to do everything, and you can't show any sign of weakness and all that. But when you start swatting the dog or yelling when you shouldn't be yelling at people, I think anyone that's listening to this that has a business knows what I'm talking about the pressures of business. And as I said, one of the points I was going to make is that at times I don't think maybe I was the best husband. One of the things I did in business, and I still do, is I feel like I over-communicate. I'd rather have someone tell, yeah, you told me that, or I go over contracts or whatever. And I looked at my personal life. I said, maybe I didn't do it. I internalized stuff. Maybe I should have, hey, I don't like this, or bring anything up. Knock on wood, I haven't been sued in 32 years. I hope I never am. But I think one of the reasons why, obviously over 32 years, I had problems. Things come up with clients, and I'd immediately get to them. I think I screwed up here. I think we have a problem, and we addressed it. In a personal life, I didn't as much. I internalized it, and it's not a good thing. So I looked at that, and I remember telling my ex-wife, I said, I apologize because I should have treated you like I treated my business people, saying, hey, I think we have a problem, or how about this, or confront it, where I kind of pushed it in the back. So, 3 years, I think I've done better with that, but I like to think that I do a better job with that in business. And there have been times where I had to say stuff to clients I really didn't want to say, but I thought I better say this.
Yeah, how do you handle those situations? Those are tough.
Yeah, but like I said, it's funny because they are and they're not. I don't want to say it, but I have to say it. And I've said some crazy things to clients. I've told clients, someone had me do, and I do consulting along with recruiting. I do all kinds of various consulting. And the one time, there's this guy who had a printing company somewhere else, and you may or may not know him, but he was a pain in the ass. And I used to tell him he was a pain in the ass. So he said to me, I want you to research this. I want you to research that. Come back to me. I'll pay you, blah, blah, blah. So my first statement to him is, so-and-so, people do not like you. I'm not telling you not to be an ass. You asked me as a fiduciary. You paid me to do this consulting. And this is, blah, blah, blah. Then fire me. And he did. He paid me to start with. Maybe you've had, I think we've all had to do this too, where, again, I fired clients. One of my favorite stories was, again, won't bring up the company name, but I got involved. And again, if you're in business, I think we've all made this mistake too, where, it's good money, but do I really want to, that guy's an asshole. This company
real
sucks.
Hard to deal with.
Yeah, I know it's money, but, so I made a mistake. This was in, I think, 2007. And so I had a guy that's a friend of mine now, actually lives in the building, same building as me now. And he said, Bob, be careful with so-and-so, and here's what's going to happen. Shit will go down. And when it does, this person's going to look to blame you. And I said, now, if I had any brains, I would have walked away, but money's money. And I like to eat and go on vacation. So I did it, but I always stayed in the back of my head. So I did a number of places with them, we're going well. And there was one where, and then we stopped. I just told him, I don't want to deal with you anymore. I fired you, I don't want to deal with you. About 3 months after that, a guy comes to me and he said, and he's from New York, and we reload a lot of people, or we had a lot of people come in town, stay at a hotel, interview, and then go back home. So he calls me, and it's like 3 months after everything's done. Well, it's okay, that's fine. Well, Bob, I talked to so-and-so company, and they said for you to pay me for my expenses. I said, what? yeah, I called. I said, you talked to so? Yeah, I talked to so and so. So I swallowed and I said, okay. I said, Joe, Tim, whatever your name is. I said, I'll get back to you. So I called them and they tried to tell me that I owed the money. And I said, all right, you have a building. And on the front of that, if the sewer line breaks, you're going to call me to pay for it? Well, no. What the hell
Yeah.
are you doing? Well, because I said, you can go fuck yourselves. And I said, here's the deal. Don't ever call me. If you call me, I'm getting my lawyer after you. You pay this guy or I will be on your ass so friggin' fast. So I called the guy. I said, here's the deal. I said, give it a week or so. If you don't hear anything, call me back. He called me. They paid me.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
They paid me.
Yeah.
So I don't like getting over on people, but it was one of my points about being brutally honest. I always say relationships are living organisms. You don't feed them, they die. Well, if you're not honest to them, they die because you build up stuff and you're passive aggressive, and that was part of my life. So I never did that with business, and I've thrown F-bombs at clients more times in 32 years, probably 4 or 5 times. But I did it because it was the truth, and they had to know where I stood. And so we all fire clients in different ways. And so that was one of my stories about like my blood was boiling and So I always say that to me when I talk to candidates that everyone what job's going to be hot? Do what you want to do. Don't ask about what's hot. Do what you love to do. So I always say the perfect job is one that you like what you do and you can put up with the inherent bullshit because there will be inherent bullshit. So I say with me, I'm an arrogant jerk. I need to work for myself because I'd get fired from every decent company in the world. So what do I have to put up with? I have to pay the bills. You're in business. So you want to be that guy. You want to run the ship. Well, when the bills come, you can't look behind you. So my perfect job is I like working for myself. I put up with the nonsense that I have to put up with, but then I golf when I want to. So
with that $1 million set of clubs,
that $1 million set of clubs that I got for $750,000. So I'm a good businessman.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah. Pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some Japanese guys now laughing their asses off at me and a bunch of other.
Yeah, they got him. You got this guy.
Oh, I got this sucker. He still hits them in the woods, but he thinks it's better.
I think you got that ball catcher or whatever.
That's right. Yeah. I hit him further in the woods, by the way.
Yeah.
They go 220 in the woods rather than 175 now. So let that be known.
Yeah. So how did you build your business?
I did it out of sheer energy. I used to teach a course at the University of Scranton. It was called The Role of the Consultant. And you may not remember a guy named Ron Vachon Vieira, who was a good friend of mine. And he was a VP at Blue Cross. And he started a search firm. And he had a friend that was the head of something at the University of Scranton. And Ron developed this course. So I went on, and Ron had some sense, and he moved away, and he moved to Arizona with some nice weather. And he said, and I was a guest speaker at it, and he had said to me, do you want to take it over? I said, yeah, it was great. I had a lot of fun with it. And I got to get back to the original question. How did I build it?
Yeah.
What I would tell the students, now these are grad students, I would tell them, anyone who would start a search business, don't do what I did. Most search businesses are boutique. They work in the printing industry, or they work for like placing accountants. I decided to work Northeast PA and find a special internationally, which I did. And it was just too stupid, but I worked so hard that I've been able to do that for 32 years where, what am I working on now? HR. I just worked in marketing, plant management, plant engineering, you name it. I won't do everything, but I've done a lot of different things. And so what happened was I just went at everything. And I made a real lot of mistakes, almost quit 2 or 3 times within those first few. Again, got the 2 kids, the mortgage and all that. And I just would not quit. I refused to quit. And again, there was a lot of pressure. But I refused to quit, and I kept looking at ways and kept veering at what I was going to do because I had to find a way to make it work. I did some compromise. I did some other things. So after about, I'm guessing now because I don't remember back then. It was probably after about 5 years where I felt a little better. And I'm an old guy now, but I was 28 years old when I started it, and I was a little concerned about being the young guy. Now I always tell people, I don't care if you're white, black, short, tall, Jewish, African American, I don't care what you are. We could always look at something and say, well, they won't look at me, or they won't take me seriously because I'm that. Well, I was terrified at 28 years old and talking to old guys, which isn't old, by the way, now, old guys 50, 60 years old, and thinking, how are they going to take me seriously? I was thinking of like dyeing my hair. I don't have to do now, or putting some lines in my head, which I don't have to do now. Yeah. And so I just kept working harder and harder. And fake it till I make it kind of thing. I would smile. I networked like crazy. And this is pre-internet, kids. There was the time before internet when the dinosaurs roamed Wyoming Valley. And I just said, I refuse to lose. I will find a way. And I kept veering and doing whatever, because it came from the fact that I didn't want to work for anyone else. I'm non-employable. And I said, so I have to find a way. So after about 5 years or so, I can't remember. 5 years, something like that. I started to build a little bit of a base, and people started to know who I was. And I wasn't quite the young guy anymore. Got myself on every board you can imagine. And I thought that helped a little bit. As a young guy, I think I got in the executive committee of the Scranton Chamber, which was a big deal. Then I got in a Pennsylvania Chamber Board, Pennsylvania Biotechnology, Northeast PA Tech Council. I got all these things. So I started, even as a young guy, to establish at least some sort of, hey, this guy has some organizations that he's with that, it's somewhat credible and all that. And so I think that helped. Or I know that helped. I got some searches because the networking thing, he knows so-and-so, or he's on that board. I did that, and even with that, again, the ups and downs of business. There's never. It's not a linear. You're going up one step. It's up 3, down 4. What do I do now? And I also used to tell the students in that role of the consultant class that. And I was just talking to a friend now who was an HR pro and then HR VP, then he became a consultant. And I told him, I tell everyone this. I don't care if you're busy 50, some 60 hours a week, you have to spend at least 10% of your time marketing all the time. It's easy to do when you have nothing, but it's tough to do when you're busy. You have to do it. And so I always kind of kept that in mind too, and always salted away a few nuts when things were good, didn't overspend, learned that too. Got into debt in the first few years because I'll go borrow a few grand and it'll come back. Oh, it's not coming back. Oh, that doesn't work that way. Keep in mind, Mr. Smart Guy was an MBA and a CPA. You think I'd know something about numbers? Well, yeah, I did when you gave them to me. I put them in a format. And I know jack about sales.
Yeah.
So I
kind of caught up to you a little bit here.
It did. And it was, like I said, it was really tough. And I give my ex-wife credit because she put up with that and like she handled it and she didn't go get a job or I'm going to divorce you or something like that. So I did try to include her in all. I said, it's my business, but it's us. We're together. You know how that works. You got to talk about these things. So I tried to do it, but I give her a lot of credit for putting up with my shit and all that during those years. And it got better, but she could have said, believe me, because I've heard this from many couples, you can't do that. I need this or I need this. You can't do it. So, that was important, and again, I think the deal, and I think it's very important when you're getting involved in a business. It is a family decision. You have to talk about it. There are times I tried not to, but there are times when I was away from the little guys, and I hated that. I didn't do that. I didn't do a lot of that. But it's kind of a family decision, and then it does get easier. You don't know, but they'll get into school. Other things will happen, in that family part. But I remember reading a lot of surveys and studies, and what I would not do, and I didn't make this mistake. I read about a lot of marriages that were killed because the entrepreneur put too much into that and took away from family, and that's a mistake I didn't make, and I was proud of that. I did not do that. I said no. So what if I make $3 zillion and my kids hate me or they don't know me? So I didn't do that. But tough balancing it. It's tough to say you're exactly right all the time.
Yeah.
with this.
How did you manage that?
Well, I managed it, and it was very stressful for me because there were a lot of times I spent with the kids, and I thought maybe I should be doing this. Maybe it was tough. It was really tough. It was, and I thought I'm not. And so I felt the other way. Most entrepreneurs give too much to the business. I was giving too much. I wasn't, but I felt like, I'm not. I should be at this meeting. I should be doing this and that. There's no. I don't know if you ever feel good about that stuff as a father or a family member. So I erred on the other side a little bit, and I'm glad I did. But I think, as most people know, you do it for a few years, you build up a little bit of a history, and then people start to know who you are. So, again, kids, gather around the campfire. The internet came around about 94, so I'm in business about 5 years now. And I thought, wow, this is going to change everything, which obviously it did. So I think I adapted fairly well to it. Then what happened, boy, I should know this, and they should be paying me royalties, and they don't, I pay them. But LinkedIn, I started getting really active, I think 2006 or 7.
Yeah, that's early on.
Yeah, it was right when it started. And so here's another point. So 2006, I'm in business 15 years, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, 15 years. I'm a smart guy. People should come to me and just give me money because I'm just so brilliant. That didn't happen a lot, by the way. And so I say, you always have to be ahead of her. You have to be looking. So I got heavily involved in LinkedIn and social media.
Why? How did you figure that out?
Well,
right
here,
from the start?
I saw what the internet did. And I saw my business to a degree as database driven. When I look for people, if I'm looking for accountants, I'm looking in the American or the Pennsylvania Institute of CPAs. If I'm looking for engineers, a lot of it was association driven. So when I looked at this, I thought, and this could lead into the NEPA networker talk. When I looked at it, I thought, all right, we have the internet. That makes searching a hell of a lot easier. Now we have social media. And I thought, these people on social media are going to become my resumes. I have to throw myself in there because it was difficult because I do general work in Northeast PA. I had to connect to everyone, accountants, lawyers, doctors, and ENTs, you name it. I had to connect them. So I thought, that's my database. I have to build that. And this is not bragging. I think this is really just what happened. My friend who taught that course, that started the course, Roller Consultant, and other friends I had, in the dark ages, and politically, I don't care what people think, the Obama years were horrible. 2007, 8, 9, killed business, and no jobs. And so I spent, if there were 8 hours I'm working in a day, 6 around LinkedIn, building it up, thinking I need this. So what happened then is I bet on myself and I bet on LinkedIn and social media. I just thought that those are going to be how am I going to get to people? This is the way we're going to get to people. My point is that I don't know if there's, so let's say 8, 9, 10, 11 were the worst years in recruiting. It was bad in employment, horrible in recruiting. 60% of the search industry went out of business. Now, you're in the printing business, and I know you guys, you're a survivor. God bless you. And I thought anyone who made it through those Obama years, I mean, from the economic side, whatever you think about, anything else is fine. I'm just saying as far as jobs and the economy and all that. I think if you're a business and you made it through 9, 10, 11, you adapted, and I give you credit. I don't care if you're making signs or print. You had to adapt, and you did, and God bless you. Almost everyone I knew personally either lost their business or did something else. And I think it was because they didn't see the wave of social media coming. And I just threw myself into it. I thought, I'm betting everything on this. That wasn't money, it was time.
I thought it was very interesting. You said you spent 6 hours a day on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Take me through that. And then second part of that, do people think you were crazy for doing that?
Well, I like to think that if you're going to be creative and going to be good at anything, the majority of people are going to think you're crazy. So if they didn't, I thought I was doing something wrong. I just gave a recruiting seminar the other day, and I told the people in the room, if you come up with an idea, you go to your boss. If he doesn't shake his head, he or she doesn't shake her head, think you're crazy, you're not doing your job. So to be innovative, normal people are going to say you're crazy. So I look at things maybe a little differently. So I get concerned when people think I'm not crazy. I don't want to be the status quo. I don't want that. I'm always looking at, what's going to scare me, that kind of thing. So I take that as a badge of honor that people think I'm crazy, because I'm thinking, well, I'm looking forward. You could do it. You could be a lemming. Seinfeld fan, right? And I got a million Seinfeld quotes I love. And one of my favorite ones is when Jerry says to George, if you were in Germany in 1939, you'd be goose-stepping behind Hitler. Yeah, go follow everyone. See where that leads you. So I want to be different. I think that, that's how you differentiate yourself. You're different. So I looked at that and I thought, yeah. So I could kind of lead into the NEPA networkers if you'd like from here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, and I don't make any bones about it. I tell the groups right in front of them. So I thought, okay, essentially your LinkedIn profile is tantamount. It's close to a resume, not exactly, but I could take that and send it to a client and almost say, this is who they are. So I said, okay, how do I get connections on LinkedIn? And I thought about it. I thought, well, what if I create something? Now, in accounting terms, we call it arm's length. What if I create something that looks like it's arm's length? I'm gonna do something that looks like it is for a different reason. I'm gonna set up the NEPA networkers for people who are concerned about jobs and business development.
And was this you were creating a group on LinkedIn?
Creating a group, and it started on LinkedIn. Yes, thank you for
as a
keeping.
Group. Okay.
Yes, as a group. So I had said, what they don't know won't hurt them. Are you a Tommy Boy fan?
Yeah, of course.
Dan Aykroyd. What was it? They buy my car parts because however Dan Aykroyd says.
I forget too.
Because I'm a damn good salesman and they don't know any better. You know?
Yeah, everybody knows the line.
Yeah. So I thought about it and I thought, and now there are no jobs now. It's unlike today where get any job you want. There are no jobs there. So I thought I'm going to talk about jobs first, and then I get HR people involved, people job seeking involved, and then it will evolve into jobs and business development. Courtney Associates also does business development consulting. This is not a coincidence, and I tell everyone this. So I'm thinking, what if I start a group that people join? I decide whether they can join or not on LinkedIn, and then if Bill Corcoran joins, or if Bill Corcoran wants to join, I say, yeah, okay, I think he's a pro. He's the kind of guy like, I'll let him join the NEPA networkers. Guess what the next thing I do is? I send Bill Corcoran a connection request. Hey, Bill, I'm president of NEPA networkers. So if your listeners can imagine, I'm doing this in front of Bill. If you can imagine in your mind, I'm drawing two graphs. I got a graph and I got one line and it's at a 1 to 2 slope and it's the growth of the NEPA networkers. So it goes from 0. Now, right now, I don't know where I'm at, 1,500. I don't know how many connections I have at this point. And what happened is my slant was slightly more elevated, slightly a bigger slant, but it was almost parallel to the growth of the NEPA networkers. You think they care?
Your personal network.
Yeah, they didn't give a shit. They thought, I'm joining something that might help me find a job or that might help my business. Yeah, if this schmuck wants to, that's the president.
Sure, connect to him.
If this a-hole wants to,
crazy guy.
Yeah, okay. If this nut job, I'll join. Yeah, he set this thing up. He's probably not a murderer. So yeah, I'll connect with him.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and I have no qualms. I say it all the time at our meetings. I set up the NEPA networkers for me to get resumes. And as we speak right now, I'm at somewhere about 23,365. Don't quote me. Connections on LinkedIn. Now, some of them are dead, so maybe 300 and something. But I set that up for that reason. And those people, they're in my database. So I like to freak out clients when I'll sit in front of them, when you're allowed to sit in front of them, and say, what's your most difficult to find position? And they'll tell me, come over here, click, 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 click. How about one of these 40 people? You think they can do it? And because I am a bit of an asshole, but but the point is that I built it up and I did that. Do you think these people that joined, they don't care? They're getting arm's length. They're getting something from the NEPA networkers. So, you run Power. I'm sure you're connected on Facebook to a lot of those people.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yep. Most of them, if not all.
Exactly. So that was, and I tell the group, I get in front of them. I did this for Bob Courtwright, and I did it to build Bob Courtwright's resume database. They don't give a shit. They're getting what they want. It's arm's length. They're getting something out of it. And they almost just, Bob, we don't care. Say whatever you want. We don't care what you're saying. So that's the reason I started. Now, it's been around. So we started on LinkedIn. And I probably told you this story, so you could just pretend you're interested.
All right, yeah.
But pretend you're interested, Bill.
Yeah.
I started in December of 2008. The only reason I know that LinkedIn told me, and I always, by the way, LinkedIn isn't listening to this, but I still think they're a bunch of pot-smoking hippies because they give you stuff that I would pay for, and they take stuff away from you all the time. And some van down by the river smoking something. I don't understand how you people do. But they're making a fortune, and I'm kissing their ass. So I started, and I try to be transparent even in my lies. Write that down somewhere, right? So I start the NEPA Networkers, and I go to the YMCA at Dunmore at the time. I had a lot of friends there. And I say, listen, do me a favor. Are you on LinkedIn? Get on LinkedIn. Okay, I'm going to send you a request for you to join the NEPA. Just do it. Nothing's going to happen. Just join it. So I build up 30 people. I remember I got 30 people to join. Oh, isn't this great? And then I worked it these 6 hours a day. What do you think I'm doing? I'm building up the NEPA Networkers, and I'm then trying to get people to connect with me. So it gets to 100, and I'm ready to pop champagne, although I can't afford it because I'm not making any money in the search business. But I get to 100. This is miraculous. I'll never forget this. A guy sends a note, and he says, well, when do you guys meet? And I tell the story at the NEPA Networker events all the time. Meet? I'm thinking, I don't think half of you friggin' people are real. You're just made up shit here. I don't.
Yeah.
I got 100. I don't know. They may be
spam profiles.
Yeah. I mean, what's the word I'm thinking of? Not gaslighting. Catfishing.
Yeah.
There may have been catfishing then there before the word came out. So I'm thinking to myself, meet? Are you out of your mind, asshole? This is social media. We don't meet. Come on.
Yeah. Because what year is this?
This is 2000. Now it's 2000, early 2009 now.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, well wait a second.
He's online asking you to meet. And at that time, I know you'll probably agree, but at that time, that was probably like almost creepy to be like, hey, like, let's meet.
Yeah. Yeah. And this guy has something for me. Listen, I'm married and I don't go that way.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, but that's me. So I think about it. I think, yeah, why not? Years later, so we started meeting, and I think the Times Leader, Citizens Voice, or one of the papers or something, I shouldn't even say that. I forget. We had 2 or 3 different articles done on us, and some of them were new networking, old networking meets new networking. And so we start meet because we all know about that wall in Pittston or whatever the hell it is between Luzerne and Lackawanna County, right?
Which, by the way, I have to thank you for crossing that line today.
Well, you know what? I got the passport. I got it stamped.
They let you through.
They let me through. Now I can only be here another 27 minutes.
Shit.
Or
All right,
they're going to revoke it.
Yeah.
I know.
Time limit.
Yeah.
The gate closes.
It really does.
It
And
does,
I'm not. I can't leap that gate anymore. I used to years ago. I can't get over that.
Too old for that.
Too old for that.
Yeah.
So what do I do? Because, and by the way, it wasn't going to be Scranton. It was NEPA. I'm trying to think. Yeah. So anything I've tried to do, because I see us as one economic unit, and by the way, the world does. We don't see ourselves that way. And are you familiar with Penn's Northeast?
Yeah.
Do you know why Penn's Northeast exists?
I don't know.
It exists because when companies came from out of the area and they want to look at us, they would have to go to the Wilkes-Barre Chamber, Scranton Chamber, Pocono Chamber, Hazleton Chamber, 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 and they came to them and said, "Listen, assholes,
we just need one place.
You may think you're 18, you're not. You're one place. You're Northeast PA. Cut this shit out." So then the chamber started funding Penn's Northeast. So, back to, all right, we're going to meet.
Going to have your first event.
I got to have a first event. And at some point, and I know you know Jude McDonough. I met Jude McDonough. Hey, Bob, I'm coming back from Philly. Someone said you're the guy to meet. Let's meet. Okay. And we both know and love Marty Wolf also. And I did Marty and I did some stuff together. So they were nice enough to join me in this insanity, just to show up saying, Bob's doing something, we'll support him. And I, to this day, I appreciate that. I could have been roasting marshmallows. You know, when you have friends, that's what they do. And I'll be eternally grateful for that. I won't pay him anything, but I'll be eternally grateful.
Yeah.
You know,
say thank you a lot. And
so you
give
got
shout
that.
outs on the podcast.
You know, like a Caddyshack thing. Yeah, I'll mention your name. And,
yeah.
You know, you got that karma going for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm thinking, well, what do? Well, I got to go to the DMZ. That's Pittston, isn't it? So it doesn't exist anymore. But Victoria Inn, you may or may not remember Victoria Inn, but I think the hotel is there now, like near Walmart.
Okay,
Is it Hilton? I don't know what it is now.
I don't know.
But anyway, I saw that as
a halfway point.
Yeah. By the way, you're not a golfer, but there's halfway houses on golf courses. When you say that, there's a George Carlin line that I always, anytime I hear halfway, say halfway house. That's for girls that won't go all the way. Where's the drum? Boom. Yeah, so anyway, so we meet. I'm a dumbass. I probably lose a couple $100 because I don't know how to set up a meeting. I thought, oh God, money I didn't have. You're just stupid.
So you're paying for this.
I'm paying. Now, I think I had people pay. I forget what I did, but I lost money. I thought, don't lose money again. So the next one, I'm thinking, I'm getting daring here. I'm going to branch out a little bit. So we go to music. It's like, I want to call you.
Yeah.
I'm Amadeo's. It's still alive, right? I love that place. So we went there. But the point was I didn't want it to be NEPA. And I saw us as one unit. And again, I knew my business. I'm placing people in Wilkes-Barre. I'm placing people in Hazleton. I'm working for companies in Mount Pocono. I'm serving Bob Corrigan. And I tell that group all the time, when the NEPA networker stops helping me, I quit. And you know what the reality is? You will too. We just don't talk about this stuff. I do. So to this day, the NEPA networkers helps me or I'm out. And it is. So again, then we start evolving. I get people to help me out thinking, this, if it's Bob Corrigan, it ain't going to work. We need more people. So Jude got involved, Marty got involved, and there's some, we've had various iterations, as you know, but we got other people involved and we've changed a little bit over the years, but we kept that NEPA thing going. And again, what are we about? We're about jobs and business development. What does Corrigan Associates do? Jobs and business development. Shoot me. That's what I do. But I explain it. I'm not trying to bullshit here. That's what I do.
You're honest.
Yeah. So that kept going, and it's still alive today. We worked through the pandemic. What we did during the pandemic, again, I like to be a little different. I wanted to forge through and say, screw it. You get your shots, do what you need to do, where you're at, but I'm going to forge through this thing. And the board said, you're a dummy. We can't do that. You're stupid. You're going to ruin our name. And I said, okay, it's not, it's a board, and it's a smaller board, which I learned from Power, by the way. I had to fire some of my board members, believe it or not. That was a horrible thing to do. But I learned from you guys that we got it smaller to people actually did stuff. And so I think at first it was like a 4-3 no vote. Then it turned into a 6-1 no vote. I was the only a-hole, so... So what I did, though, is I took a little time off, but I started doing stuff on the Corrigan Associates. And I told the board, I said, here's what I'm going to do. And I said, when you want to come back, I'm going to say to everyone, this is really like an NEPA networker event. And I'm not going to beat anyone up. You do what you want. I'm going to do what I want. So I kept it kind of alive, not to the degree that it wasn't as successful as the NEPA networkers, but I kept it going. And so I forget when we started up again, but the NEPA networkers, did start up again, and people got vaccinated. There's only, I think, one of our guys, and though I think even he got vaccinated, still he's not leaving his house. And again, you do what you need to do for you and your family. I will never, try to tell anyone what to do. So, but other than that, like we're back out, we're doing our coffees, we're doing our quarterly things, we're doing our on-sites. And what I found ironic are some of the people that really didn't want to do anything. Once they got vaccinated, hey, let's get out. Let's do this. Because we were going to have, I was going to do an event in maybe July, August. No, let's do it in June before everyone gets out. Okay. So we went to the Tiki Bar in East Mountain in Scranton, which I love. But we thought it's outdoor. And again, I don't want to be a jerk unless I really have to. And I thought, let's do it outside. And, so we did that. And then we're going to go down. And it's a favorite place of all. We're going to go to the Westmoreland Club. I love the Westmoreland Club. And they weren't getting back. And then we said, well, we may have to do this or that. And we said, let's not force this. When they're ready and we're ready. So we had another event up at the Tiki Bar. So I want to do something in September. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's continue to do something outside. So, we'll continue to work with that. And when, again, I love the Westmoreland. Could I say I love the Westmoreland Club? I love the Westmoreland Club.
I think you did. Yeah.
I really do love the Westmoreland Club.
Do you love the Westmoreland
Club? I love the Westmoreland Club. And we will go back. And I love going to Power things there. I had so many good times at Power events there. I really did. And so we'll go back to that. So once most of the group that were freaked out by COVID got vaccinated, they're the ones that said, hey, I said, yeah, okay, that's fine. And we're all living in this, I hate to call it a post-pandemic world because it seems like it's never going away.
Yeah, it
but
seems
you know,
like it's
we're
never
all
ending,
saying,
right?
are we sick of this? How are we going to deal with it? And again, whatever you want to do is your business. I'm not going to criticize you. So anyway, we keep doing that. And as you could well imagine, networking. What did networking do? Right? In the pandemic?
Yeah, not much.
Yeah. And so I tried. And then, you know, I like Florida. I like Naples. I like Florida. I've gone there. I networked a lot there. They were a little freer. But what got me up here, and this is why I get very concerned about the media and I get concerned about the media because I go to Florida and everyone, you know, they're looking at me like everyone's running around half naked without masks down there. And that's not true. They're 3/4 naked. No, that's not true. Well, you got to know where to go. That's another story for another podcast. But the reality was, I saw it really nice. So the only difference.
I think I just got that joke.
Okay.
sorry, it took me a little bit there. Oh my God.
You could rewind this. I'll listen to it.
All right.
But what I found is really about the only difference. I felt terrible for the workers. The only difference I found, Florida was like us in the summer. You eat outside, but you go inside, all the workers were still wearing masks. And, you know, people were still... So this media stuff about, oh, they're running around wild in Florida. No, they're not. It's just that it's warmer there and you're eating outside. But when you went in, most people were, but all the workers were. And I would feel terrible to see these people working in bars outside and the workers were wearing masks. So I'm very leery. I have to find out things for myself and I distrust the media. So, that wasn't the case, but I would go there. It was a little freer, but a lot of it had to do with the weather. Not Florida's insane, you know, DeSantis is insane, these people are crazy. It's not. It really wasn't true, and that's what I told people. I said it's not. I expected it to go down, and it is a little freer. But you went to the grocery stores. You went to put the mask. I don't know what a friggin' mask. We got to. All right, put the mask on. So I've tried to adapt as much as I can. I hate people using excuses. So I've tried to encourage people to do various things social media wise. You can still communicate social media. I hate Zoom, but we have to use it. And you know, now with our NAPA board network or board meetings, I said, yeah, you're coming from Zurich. Our board meetings take 20 minutes. Why should you drive up? Now, I use it as an excuse. We meet, we go to an office, then we go to a bar and we have something to eat.
Yeah, have a little fun.
That was my excuse. Now I say, all right, you know, you just stay there. So there's a purpose for Zoom, but I got over-Zoomed. I think we all did. I got to hate it. But there, you know, I think there are still good reasons for Zoom. So anyway, you know, we're all living in this world. How are you adjusting? What are you doing? And we all have to do something. I just try to respect other people and what they do. And I don't try to tell anyone what to do, but I'm going to live my life and don't bust my ass. You know, if you don't like that I'm not wearing a mask, then walk the other way or tell me get lost and I'll live by that. So we're all dealing with this.
Yeah.
So probably one of the first things I should have said is that everything I do in business, it's not in the recruiting. I tell people I'm a business person. I just happen to recruit. But the big umbrella is networking. That's the umbrella, and everything is under that.
Let's talk about that a little. What is networking? I know you do this thing called intentional networking.
Right.
So tell me a little bit.
Networking is a long-term situation where you're looking at gaining something through developing relationships with people. And sometimes people see it as dirty. Sometimes people see it as sales. Sometimes people think you have to be an extrovert. And I tell people this and they shake their head and they say, you're lying. I am an introvert and an ambivert. Now, an ambivert is someone who, when the lights come on, you're all right. But I don't want to be, although, you know, when you guys see pictures of me, you'll think I want to stand out.
Yeah, you're a walking billboard for the haberdashery.
I am.
Shout out to Eric.
There you go, Eric. You owe me, Eric.
Or me.
Or Bill.
Both of us.
Or Bill. But what I think people have misconceptions about networking, and you know this because you're very good at it, and I tell people that all the time, and you make it look easy, so networking is about long-term relationships. It ain't sales. It is not sales. And so one of the many tenets in networking is, hey, if we can shake hands or bump fists or wave or whatever we do these days, and say, hey, I'm Bob Corey. What's your name, Bill? Bill. Oh, what do you do, Bill? Now, normally you're in some sort of setting, so hey, we're here, Power, NEP, or whatever. So what we teach, and I teach people, is what is your name? You can rehearse a couple questions, and sometimes networking people will tell you have like 10 questions. I say, no, have one or two. You know what they are? What's your name? What brings you here? Tell me a little bit about yourself. And you know what you do from there? You listen to the friggin' answer. And then you ask questions. You never hand out that card to start with. You don't say anything about yourself until they ask you. And if they don't, you walk away. And at some point they will. But it's building long-term relationships. Now, Marty Wolf, I heard this first from him. He said, I didn't make it up. He said, you buy from people you know, like, and trust. So you build that trust, and networking is about establishing relationships that will help you. By the way, networking has probably helped me more personally than even business-wise. That will help you personally and business-wise down the road. And you give, and it will come back to you. Now, I started the first group. I handpicked the first group. I said, I'm going to set this group. I'm going to teach these people how to network. And I said, Marty, come on in. Because Marty's the brains. I'm not even the looks. I don't know what the hell I am. So I got it going. I guess I'm the guy that gets it started.
Crazy guy.
Yeah, that just gets it started, and I kind of walk away and take credit. So and Marty is excellent. He's a professor extraordinaire, and he brings in books. Books? Yeah, okay. I don't know books. What are books? They hold up my nightstand. So we were teach from 3 different books. And so we went through the first one, and I said, we got to call this something. So I was saying to him, we can't do this stuff. We just can't serendipitously blah, 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 blah. So actually we came up with maybe the opposite of serendipitous is intentional. So Marty coined it in intentional networking. So there's a plan, and you don't expect things overnight, but you have to look at that plan. And if it's not achieving your goals, you got to give it time. But if it's not achieving your goals, you got to form different networks and do different things. You need to be intentional about it. Now, we've all been members of chambers, and they have their place. But how many of us have joined organizations and have business card exchanges? And how many of us have done that for more than a couple of years, and we say, well, all right, if I need a copy of life insurance, but do they really work? And by the way, business cards are great. I still love them. Do you guys make them?
I think we do.
Okay.
Yeah, I know a guy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Business cards are still good, in my opinion. I could tell you later why, but they're very good buying from Corcoran Printing. So where was I?
Talking about the intentional networking.
Yeah, so, we got that going, and what I would say is that you go to whatever group you're involved in, you go to various business card exchanges, and invariably you're done with them after 2 or 3 or 4 times. Why? Because you're just going up and showing, no, have a plan. Have a plan. What are you trying to do with this card exchange? Don't go and say, I'm just going to show up and hand out my cards. You will get frustrated and you'll walk away. And that's what people do. So I know with Power, there's a lot of good things. I've gotten good things from Power. And my feeling is that in a networking event, if you get one win, a win could be anything. It's whatever you're looking for. A vendor, a customer. I found a million different things. I found someone do electricity work at my house where I couldn't find it anywhere else. Guy showed up in NEP and network thing. Whatever you can, if you get one win out of a network, that's good. The intentional part is, okay, I'm Bob Corey. I'm networking. I'm looking. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for clients and candidates. So that's my intentional piece of this. And I network sometimes to, set up other intentional network, get other people in the intentional networking class. So there has to be a plan. There can be a plan. There should be a plan. It can't go on forever, because if you're not achieving a goal, you have to adjust it. So when I say long-term, I do mean long-term. But I'd say you got to look like 6 months to a year. And if you're not achieving your goals, maybe you're not networking the right way, or maybe you're not networking with the right people. You need to put a lot of time into it, but you get involved with a certain network to get a certain outcome. Now, I've gotten a lot of good serendipitous things. So I also do outplacement. When companies let go of people, they come to me, I help them transition out. And what I would tell my people in outplacement, you're better off going to the grocery store than sitting on your couch, because something might happen. You're sitting on your couch, you're going to get crumbs in your couch, But if you go out to the grocery store, you're going to run into people, and what's the second question? Hey, what's going on with your job, or how's this or how that? So networking is the umbrella. Everything I do, it comes under that, whether it's outplacement, recruiting, teaching, whatever. That's the umbrella, and that's what I live by. And when I talk to people about networking, and I'll tell them, I am not a theoretical guy. I'm not that smart. It has to come into action. So what I tell you about networking, I'm not, and I just had a conversation with a friend of mine that's an HR consultant, and I told him the same thing. I gave him some advice on how to kind of, hey, put your picture and say this is what you did on LinkedIn, and that people love pictures. And so I had said to him, everything I'm telling you, not the exact detail, but the process of networking, I'm doing it today. So I'm not telling you to do anything that I don't do every day of my life, and I live it. And I live it because I believe in it. And so when I'm guiding people or companies or candidates or what have you, what I'm telling them is what I'm doing. It's a different form. It takes a different shape, but it's intentional. It's intentional. So as I said, that's the umbrella. Everything you ask me about anything I do, and I'll give you a networking story. And as I said, unfortunately, one of the first books we taught from, and I still think it's a Bible. It's 1,000,000 years old. I still think it's a Bible. A guy named Jack Killian, who just passed away. It's terrible. This guy was in his late 80s, networked up until the day he passed. Is my hero with that. He has a book called Network All the Time, Everywhere with Everybody. Go buy it now. It's almost pre-internet. I don't care. It's the Bible. The basics are there. I'm trying to think. Marty had another one we liked, and I forget that one we didn't teach from. And then the one that we currently teach from is from a woman named J. Kelly Hoey. And she has a book called Build Your Dream Network. J. Kelly Hoey, Build Your Dream Network. And that's more current. So we would teach from both of those. And as I said, I can tell you as many stories and as many good wins on the personal side that I can on the business. And I enjoy it, and I feel like I learn more from people than anything I've read. And
give me one or two of those stories. You said you learned a lot personally, or like give me a good networking story. Like what did you get from it? You said you got more personally than business.
Yeah, and Marty would always say, Bob, because I'd tell him, hey, I did this and blah, blah, blah. So like the two that we used to tell all the time is that when I got separated and divorced, I'm looking for a place, and I don't know anything about renting a place. Well, through a network, through a sister and then someone she knew, I just let a bunch of people know, hey, I'm going to look for something. I had a great cheap apartment for about a year, I think, till I bought a house. And it was only because I let it out to the network, and it was disgustingly cheap. I got cable and internet included in the whole thing. And if not for me having a network and letting it out to the whole network, I don't know what I would have found. Well, I know what I would have found. There's a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
This was fantastic. The other one of the other ones Marty used to have me bring up all the time is in 2016, I went to Italy. I've never been in Italy before. And I'm going with a friend, and we decide to go to Florence. I don't know why. I don't know why I do half the things I do, but we're going to go to Florence. So here's some schmuck from West Scranton thinking, well, what do I know about Florence? Do I know how to spell it? I'm half Italian, but what the hell does that mean? I utilize my network. My golf partner's son-in-law used to run tours through Italy. A guy that was a few years behind me in high school, West Side, ran tours through Italy. I didn't know him as well. I didn't get as much information from him. A guy that taught my younger son in school had an apartment in Florence. And so I mined all of this. And it was so beneficial. Well, how many euros should I buy? And what should I do? Where should I stay? What are the things I should look at? So I went with, and this other person, she didn't know anything either. It would just sound like a fun thing to do. So I learned a lot before I got there. One of the things he said to me, don't fly into Rome. Why? Okay. I think because he said it was insane. We flew into Munich and then into Florence. Just little things like that. Here's where you should stay. Be careful of this. Get the exchange rate is this. Do this. You're going to spend X amount of euros a day and do this with it. And so he would always tell me, because I think, we did some of those programs right after I got back from Italy. So whatever I was doing that particular time, he'd say, okay, what do you got for me? But those were like, the apartment was one. That was when I'd really have to think others. Those were two that I brought up. It could be buying a car. The car I have now is a networking story. A friend worked for a business. They just wanted to get rid of the car and they just wanted to pay off the loan. This guy was in the car business before. He said, Bob, I'm telling you, go look it up. I said, I don't have to look it up. I trust you. No, go look it up. I saw what the retail value was. I saw what that was. I'm not a car guy. I don't care as long as it wheels and gets me to some place and I'm not freezing. But I got a good value on a car because of that network. So it just, I don't know what else I could think off the top of my head, but there's so many like that. The business ones are easy, and part of it is I learned kind of slow. Eventually I learned I got a lot of concrete in my cranium before it, I guess, but I learned that, I don't know how many, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, by the time maybe the third or fourth client came to me, they came to me because I was so well networked on LinkedIn. And you know what they told me? And I was too stupid to even realize. I was on it to get resumes. Well, by the time the third client came to me, which I knew nothing about, and they said, well, every time we go online, we see you know everyone. So we came to you. So all I did then is that was networking. It's social media, but it was networking. So all I did then is just ramped up what I was already doing. And so what I teach, and sometimes I teach companies, when people come to me for LinkedIn training, it's usually about recruiting or business development. So I tell people, I don't spend a nickel on marketing. And I should know this. Is it called pull marketing? Maybe you know, when people come to you. Like I'm visible. I put stuff out there and people come to me. So I've been in business 32 years. So I have a lot of repeat clients, but I have a lot of new clients, and a lot of them come to me because they see me on LinkedIn. That's my networking. That's how I live. That's how I pay my rent. And so the social media part of it is absolutely critical. And as I said to you before, I had friends that are not in the business now because they did not embrace social media and they didn't know how to handle it. So the business side is easy. I can give you a whole list of clients that are my clients because I knew how to handle myself and I knew how to network on social media, mainly LinkedIn, but not only LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to hear my crazy networking story?
Yes.
It's a business one that led to a personal story. How it's connected. You ready?
Yes.
I graduated from Penn State in 2011.
We are.
Penn State. So I graduated from Penn State. I worked a year somewhere else for Verizon before I started here working in the family printing business. And then when I started in the printing business, in sales, I'm like, okay, well, who do I know, right? Like, where's my network? And at the time, I'm 23 years old, right? I didn't have a big network, except I had my network of my fellow Penn State graduates.
Great network,
right? Very good network for anyone that went to Penn State knows, or is just a fan. You just know the Penn State network and the Penn State connection. Like it's so solid, right?
Yes. So
I started here, and I'm going through my Facebook friends list, and I'm like, all right, well, who? Let me just reach out to some of my old classmates because I was calling on companies like out of the area, not just in northeastern Pennsylvania, so like tri-state area, right?
Mm-hmm.
I see an old classmate of mine was working for the 76ers, and I was like, well, it's a long shot. It'll probably never happen. I was like, but I'll just shoot him a message, right? And I asked him, I said, hey, I sent him a message on Facebook, and Jerry and I had class together, and we didn't know each other like very well. We just became friends from class. So I sent him a message, and I said, hey, Jerry, I said, I know it's probably a total long shot. I said, but I got to ask, I said, I see you're working for the Sixers. That's like really cool, and he's working in like the social media team. And I was like, hey, this is what I'm doing now, my family printing business. I was like, any chance you can maybe get me like a contact or an introduction to somebody there in marketing? And he's like, Bill, I don't know. He's like, I'm still pretty new here.
Right.
And, I'm young, just started. And he's like, I don't know. And then he goes, I'm like, all right, well, listen, I said, if you can just get me, I said, you don't have to introduce me. I said, just give me a name. I won't even mention your name if you're not comfortable. I said, I'll just try to figure it out on my own. So a couple days goes by and he comes back to me. He's like, hey, Bill, actually good news. He goes, I got a guy, talked to one of the guys here named Chris Mallon. And he's like, he goes, I gave him all your information. But, well, let me backtrack. Actually, this is how it happened. Because this never happens in the sales world. This never, ever happens. You're going to laugh as soon as I say it. Jerry goes, yeah, sure, Bill, I'll try. How about I give them your information? And you know where that goes. Nowhere.
Yes, right.
Nowhere, right?
Right, yeah.
So, but I did it anyway, right? So I said, okay, here, Jerry, right? And then, so he gives it, and then he reaches back out, and he's like, Bill, actually, good news. He goes, they're actually looking for someone. This is right. The timing of this is like it literally couldn't have been it. This is like a couple weeks before the actual season starting.
Wow.
And so he gives my information, and no kidding, Chris Mallon, shout out to Chris. He's no longer with the Sixers. Neither is Jerry, but Chris reached out to me and said, "Hey, Bill, got your information from your buddy Jerry, and want to see if you can quote. We actually have a special project going on. I want to see if you can help us." And I'm like, this never happens,
No,
right? Like you're
no.
shaking your head because this never happens,
No.
right? But if I didn't ask Jerry and use my network, none of this would have came to be. So so Chris Mallon reaches out to me, and we quote a job, big job, like literally $10,000 right off the bat. And I'm new here. This is big time, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, we're never gonna get this job. Like, this is not gonna happen.
Right.
So I said, hey, like I'm gonna be in the Philly area. I'd love to come by and meet you guys. So I go down and I meet with them, and guess what? I freaking got the order, man. I got the order, right?
Unbelievable.
So the rest is history, and we're still doing work with the Sixers,
Wow.
like still to this day. So it's I'm real proud of that, and and I'm forever grateful to my buddy Jerry, and I'm gonna make sure I tell Jerry to listen to this episode because he's gonna love it, and he just started his own podcast too. But yeah, so Jerry hooked me up with Chris, and then Chris's boss Mark, and I've just been able to build my relationship in that organization over the last 10 years, like unbelievable. So, but now fast forward to here's the personal story. So this all stems from Penn State, right? Okay. So fast forward, I think it was like maybe 2016. This is when Penn State goes to the Rose Bowl. Do you remember this?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So Penn State's playing in the Big Ten championship,
Yes.
and crazy come from behind win.
Yes.
Yes. We were getting destroyed.
Yes.
Right. And so we win the Big Ten championship. And at this point in my life, my wife at the time was just my girlfriend, and I said, I'm thinking to myself, literally as the game ended, we won. At that time, I was still trying to figure out how and when I was going to propose to her, and we won that game. And we knew we were going to the Rose Bowl, right?
Yes.
And because I had season football tickets, I had the opportunity to purchase tickets to the Rose Bowl, right? So I said to myself in my own head as we're sitting there on the couch, and she has no idea, of course, I said to myself, I'm going to convince her we're going to spend thousands of dollars, go to the Rose Bowl. I'm going to spend $1 bazillion, obviously. I didn't even have the ring yet, actually, but I knew I was just holding on to buy it till I had the plan, right?
Yeah.
So I said to myself, okay, so how am I going to figure this out? How am I going to propose to her out at the Rose Bowl? Like, how is this going to happen? Right? Didn't have a plan. And then fast forward about 6 months, maybe 6 months. Yeah, 6 months after that, fast forward to 6 months previous to this. 6 months. Okay, so 6 months previous, my wife and I were, she was my girlfriend at the time still. But 6 months previously, I went to the 76ers draft party in Philadelphia. Okay, so they said, hey, why don't you come to the draft party? Blah, blah, real cool. I think they had the number 1 pick at that time, right?
Yeah.
Number 1 or number 2?
Because they had a few in a row, and they all kept getting hurt.
So we went to this draft party. I think it was in June, and we went to the draft party. And night ends, we go back to the hotel. We're staying the night in Philly. We go back to the hotel, and I hope people are still following along, man. This is like really long-winded here. So we go back to the hotel, and I said, let's just have one more drink. Let's just have a drink at the bar before we go up to the room. It was a real hopping hotel, Center City, Philly. Don't remember the name of it, but it was a really nice hotel, and there was live band or something playing. Like, it was hopping. It wasn't that late. It was only like 10, 11 o'clock. So we go up to the bar. We're having a drink, and we're like, okay, let's just bag it. So then here comes this guy up to the bar, and he's wearing a Penn State bow tie. So what does any other Penn Stater naturally do? You just make conversation, right?
Yes.
So I look over at this guy, and I just introduced myself. I said, hey, I'm Bill. I was like, oh, nice, Penn State bow tie, cool. I said, are you a fan? Did you go to school there? He said, oh, I work for the university. And I was like, oh, cool. I said, that's nice. I said, what are you guys doing? He's like, oh, we have alumni association event here at the hotel tonight. And I'm like, okay, that's why it's really hopping, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
They had some big event there, and he was very humble. And he was very humble to the point that he almost didn't even want to tell me what he did in the university until I kind of asked him 2 or 3 times. I said, I said, okay, well, what do you do? I said, what do you do at the university? And he said, well, I'm the CEO of the Penn State Alumni Association. Like the alumni, the world's
largest dues paying. Yes.
There you go. You got it. You
Yes,
know it. Yeah.
I know it.
Right. So like my jaw drops, and he was the nicest guy in the world, and he immediately took out his business card, handed it to me, and I'll never forget this. He said, "If there's anything I can ever do for you, let me know." Okay. So this is 6 months previous to winning, or previous to the Big Ten championship.
Yes.
Okay. And Penn State going to the Rose Bowl.
Right.
All right, so now fast forward again. Now we're back to winning the Big Ten championship. So we win it again. I didn't have a plan, right? But guess what? For some reason I kept. His name was Paul Clifford, by the way.
I'm connected to him now on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I for some reason I just thought it was really cool that I met him. So I kept Paul's business card for some weird reason because I'm a weirdo. I kept his business card literally propped up on my desk here at work, just literally up right in front of the monitor. So, a couple days after we win the Big Ten championship, I'm sitting there at my desk and I'm thinking to myself, I'm racking my brain, how am I going to figure out how I'm going to plan and propose to her at the Rose Bowl? And all of a sudden, it's sitting right there in front of my face, Paul. It's going to be Paul. Paul's going to help me. Paul doesn't know it yet, right? So I'm again another total long shot, right? Like this is a total long shot. It's probably never going to happen. So I call the number on the business card, and of course it's their office, and he's got an assistant or two, right? So I say, I just said, hey, can I talk to Paul? And they're like, well, who are you? Where are you going? Why? I said, I kind of just like didn't say why I was calling because it was just too long to explain. So I just like tried to say, oh, it's just a personal call or something. Like, okay, we'll give him the message. Yeah, great. Where's that going to go? Right? Nowhere. Naturally, right? That's just how it goes. So, but I had his email though too, and I was like, you know what? It's a total long shot.
Right.
But I'm like, I'm just going to send the email. What's the worst that can happen? Nothing, right? So I send the email and just said, Hey, Paul, I said, you may not remember me. I said, but I met you 6 months ago at the whatever hotel, and I make sure I looked it up to make sure I got the name right. I said, I met you at the so-and-so hotel in Center City, Philly. I said, you were there for an alumni event. My girlfriend and I were there for the 76ers draft party, and we met you at the hotel bar. We exchanged cards, blah, blah, blah. I said, I'm looking to propose to my girlfriend out at the Rose Bowl. I said, I'm wondering if there's any way. I said, no, it's a total long shot. I said, if there's nothing you can do, I said, I get it. It is what it is. I said, but if there's anything you can do to help me maybe figure out and plan something cool, like get me on the field or something crazy, I said, that'd be really cool, right? So a couple days goes by, crickets, nothing. No email, no return phone call. Mm-hmm. But then my phone rang. And I looked at my phone one day, and I almost didn't answer it. Unknown number. Well, it had the number, and the only reason I answered it is because on the very last second of the ring on my phone, I noticed it was a State College area code. So I just picked it up, and I said, hello? And he said, hey, Bill, this is Paul Clifford from the Penn State Alumni Association. And I'm like, this can't even be real. This cannot be real, right?
Yeah.
So he said, hey, I got your email. I do remember you. And yeah, he said, we'd love to help you out. The university would love to help you out. I'd love to help you out. He goes, I can't get you on the field. He goes, I don't have that much access. He said, but he said I can get you VIP the day before to the pep rally right outside the Staples Center in downtown LA. VIP, I can get the line involved. I can get you on stage, backstage. You tell me. He goes, we got like it was like a month or so to plan, or maybe a month and a half or something. He goes, so we have a little bit of time. He goes, not much. He goes, but we got some time. And he said, whatever we can do to make it as special as possible. He goes, we're gonna do it. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yep. I'm like, wow, okay, cool. So, well, the rest is history. And
that's amazing.
And he made it happen. He I lied to my wife about like. I had some connections that like I knew a previous Nittany Lion, which was actually which was true. But I said, hey, an old friend, old Nittany Lion mascot is going to be out there. I said, he got us these VIP tickets, and then so I kind of told some half truths,
Yeah.
And she was clueless, and it just thought it was so cool, and it was, So
did you have anyone to take pictures at least of it?
Dude, they hooked me up. I mean, they videotaped the whole thing. They had here was the crazy part. As the plan was, Paul was going to give us a backstage tour,
right?
And then he was going to take us up for on stage right before the event starts. There's thousands of people in the crowd, right? Like before this,
Right.
like you're almost like you're at like a concert, So as I knew, like it was like crunch time. Like he goes, okay, Bill, come on, I'm going to take you and Jess for a private tour, right? As that's happening, all these photographers and videographers start following us. And at this point, I'm like so nervous. I'm like, oh my God, I'm looking at her. And I'm like, I'm just trying to play it cool.
Yeah.
But like, she didn't say anything. And honestly, she was totally clueless, which it all worked out like literally perfectly. But like they like I said, they had these people following us, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, we just got to get right to this. Like we just got to make this happen because she's gonna catch on.
Yeah.
Like there's
Oh,
no
yeah.
way. You know?
Yeah, right,
But she didn't, and sure, we went up on stage, and as soon as we were on stage, it happened almost like immediately. Like the Nittany Lion kind of spun her around. They took a picture, and as she was taking a picture, I went behind her, and that was it. I went down on one knee, and
Oh, that's a great story.
yeah. But if all those things didn't happen, so again, going back to shout out to Jerry Rizzo. So if I didn't meet Jerry Rizzo at Penn State, and if I didn't ask Jerry Rizzo for the introduction to the Sixers, and if I didn't get the Sixers as a client, and then if I didn't go to that draft party, none of it would have happened.
And it's too, Marty. What I was thinking of just now when you after you said that story is that we were going to do an article on this and we never did it. I call that layering. And Marty said, "That's brilliant." I said, "What? What did I say? I never said anything brilliant." He said, "Layering. It's not usually that one call, that one thing. A lot of times you put one thing on top of another.
It's like
so that's a
Inception.
layering story.
Yeah.
You just it was a double, triple, 4-time networking thing that got you there. And the other thing that I like everything about that story. And one of the things, I don't know if you've seen this, but people will say, "Well, I really don't have a network." Everyone has networks.
Yeah, you
It
just don't.
It starts with family. It could be college. It could be church. It could be a bowling league. It could be a golfing league. Where you
It could be anything.
Yeah, everyone has a network. And I'm trying to remember one of the books we used to teach from early on. But there's something that said that we all have a circle of friends or influence of about 250. Now, I got 21,000 plus connections on LinkedIn. That's not my circle. That's people I'm connected to. We all have, and I can't remember the name of the book. I'm going to be mad at myself now. But anyway, we all, I don't care how many connections you have anywhere. We have about 200 some people in our circle. And so we're all that way. And again, if you're alive, if you're a member of a family, if you went to college, if you work somewhere, if you go to church, you have any interest at all, you have a network. And, and it's proof positive. That Penn State network is fantastic. And I utilize it. Now, I started at Penn State. I didn't finish, but I got into the Alumni Association. And when I put stuff on LinkedIn, it's my second, probably the second group, the most popular. NEP Networkers is one. But as far as responses and people looking at my stuff and commenting, the Penn State alumni is probably 2 as far as who responds to me. That is, like you said, we all know it. If you're in it, you know what a good one is. And I tell candidates that, you have that on your resume, you will get, I always tell candidates, you want to get in the looked-in file. In other words, there's 80 resumes that come in. You want to at least have them actually really look at yours. Well, if you're a Penn State grad, there are a lot of Penn State grads looking at those and you will at least get looked at.
Yeah, and there's just something weird about it.
Yeah.
That even literally, if somebody messaged me tomorrow, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, link, doesn't matter. If somebody messaged me tomorrow for anything, I don't even care if they're trying to sell something I don't need. If they message me and I see they went to Penn State, I'm going to respond to them.
Yeah, and I think everyone's like that. And one of the things I have a lot of fun with, traveling around the world a little bit and traveling around the country, is when you see a shirt and I'll yell out, "Hey, we are," and you usually get a response. And it doesn't matter. I remember doing it one year. I was in Italy. I was in Florence, and then I think it was maybe about 8 months later, I was in Venice. It's funny. I was in Venice, Italy for a while, then Venice, California. And I remember being with people who were from Pennsylvania, but they weren't really Penn State people. And they laughed because I'd see someone and I'd see the shirt, "We are," and they always responded. There's something about it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It really is. And I know
it's very, very powerful.
Yeah, and I tell everyone when you're networking, if you went to college, that's one of your great networks. And most colleges will do that. If you went to the University of Scranton, you went to Wilkes Kings.
Yeah, they'll all help
One of the things I try to say, if you're looking at let's say you want to work at Metro, good company, Sharon Strunk, the HR person, I love her. And you're looking to get in Metro. One of the things if I'm a Kings grad, I'm going to go, I'm giving away free secrets here. You people don't know how lucky you are. So, so one of the things I would tell people is that go on LinkedIn and search, join a Kings alumni, which I'm sure there is. Search that Kings alumni, which you can do without paying LinkedIn, which you shouldn't have to. Most people shouldn't have to pay, and just put Metro in there and see what Kings alumni. Hey, I'm Bob Courtwright, and I see you're director of blah, blah, blah at Metro. I'm a Kings guy, too. I'm a Kings girl, whatever. That starts it. So every college does that. I really don't believe there's a better network than the Penn State one. but we all have it. I like to tell people I'm a 2-time loser from the University of Scranton. And I taught there. But the reality is that when people come to me from either Penn State or the University of Scranton, I'll respond. And I've given back to both schools. And anyone who asks me, I've talked to Wilkes and King's people too. But the reality is, if you have that college network, those grads want to help out. Penn State, I still think, is the best. They're the biggest. Plus, there's something about it. There's just I don't know if anyone could explain it. But your story is just a great example, and I'm sure there's a lot of great stories about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And
so my one son graduated from Penn State, and one was Temple, one was Penn State. Temple's a great school, by the way, I think. But he has seen throughout his short career so far how that Penn State connection has been really, really valuable to him.
Yeah, unbelievable. And just by the way, I want to also give another shout out to Paul. But Paul, actually, him and I still keep in contact, like literally to this day. We became like family. It's crazy. It's crazy how, and by the way, he's from Hazleton. I don't know how much you know about him.
He's related, I believe, to a friend of mine with the same last name in Scranton, if I'm not mistaken, because I knew there's some sort of connection. But but I one way or another, I got connected. And by the way, as a network, and I do this, you don't mind me bringing up a few more networking things. When my youngest went to Penn State, I did this, again, selfishly for me, but I did it thinking it could help, and it still exists. I set up a Penn State parents group on LinkedIn, and that was good. And so what did I do when people joined? Hey, you're at DuPont, you're a senior VP at DuPont,
great.
Join, and they all connected. So I did that. I moved to downtown Scranton at the end of April, and I thought, we saw what was happening in all the downtown Scranton, Wilkes-Barre. We saw what was happening, people moving downtown. So when I started looking at that, there's some guy that started a Facebook group. So I said, okay, I'm going to look at that. I don't believe in recreating the wheel. If something's there, I'm going to, just try it. I don't need to lead everything. I really don't want to. I'd rather join some things. So I found it, and I found who the guy was, and I sent him a message, and he said, Bob, I moved out 2 years ago. I didn't do anything. Okay, but so I move into a building, and I find out a guy has an actual Facebook group just for our building, and he invited me, so I joined that. So then what I did, though, is to make sure it differentiated, I said, I'm going to start it. So I started Scranton Downtown neighborhood group on Facebook, and I did it that way. I didn't want to call it downtown whatever because it sounded like the last one. So it's Scranton Downtown Neighborhood Group 2021 dash. So I wanted people to know this is the new one, and it's just another network. I don't believe in being stale. I joined Rotary because I could walk to Rotary now. I joined that in April, and again, I was talking to this HR consulting friend today. I said, you can't be stale in your networks. If you stay, they'll die. You got to be in different ones. You got to juice up the ones you're in. So Rotary, and I love Rotary. I think it's a great group. And so I joined that. I'm getting a lot of benefits out of that. And one of the things that I don't know if you remember, and it wasn't very popular down here, but a guy named Dave Madeira used to be on The Talker. And they didn't really get it down here, believe it or not. It was and I'd go on that show on Thursdays, and we talk about careers and all that. And one of the things I would say is that, I'm not smart enough to fake being interested. And I said, here's the reality. No one is either. So if you don't have, in my opinion, if you don't have a genuine interest in people or what they're talking about, you can't be a good networker. And one of the cardinal, again, the sins are, hey, I'm Bob Courtwright, buy my service. The other is, I'm shaking your hand and you're not important enough, so I'm looking at who's behind you. You're better off not doing anything. So I don't believe in joining networks unless you're going to give, be a giver, be a follower. And so I like Rotary. I like the people that are in it. I like what they stand for. I like what they do. So again, one of the rules is do not be a phony. You're worse off being a phony than if you ever tried to get into something. So you can't fake the genuineness. You can't do it. I used to say I'm not smart enough, but the reality is no one could do it, and you look bad. So whatever you're doing in your network, be genuine in it. And I'm also a big believer in getting outside of your comfort zone to a point where I tell people I don't even know where my comfort zone is anymore because I'm constantly getting out of it. That's a way to grow. And so once in a while, I think you want to do things like. I was on a show one time and with Marty Wolf, and we talked about Marty said, I should go to maybe if you're an opera guy, go to the truck pull. Maybe if you're a truck pull guy, go to a play. Do something, at least to try to educate yourself. But as far as networking, when you get into something, be genuine about it. And whatever it is you get into, you'll develop that network and you'll get something from that. But you need, as I said, I don't know how to network. I don't know how to tell someone to network unless you have a genuine interest in people. So I'm going to say, hey, what's your name? Oh, Bill. Hey, what do you do, Bill? You ask those questions and you ask more based off that. And it's never about you. So I don't know how you do that without really, I have a genuine interest in people. I really do. I find everyone's story fascinating. I enjoy it. I like listening to it. We're all unique. I think that word is used incorrectly or wrong a lot, but I do believe we're all unique. We all have a story. We all have something interesting. And I obviously, talking to you do this. You obviously are. You couldn't do this. You couldn't fake this.
No.
Obviously, you're good at it. You like it, and it comes through. So there's got to be a genuineness. And if you're not that, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you do it even on social media. Maybe it comes across as arrogant. I don't know about that. But I think that's the base of it. You have to have some interest, maybe in the subject too. Maybe you have that interest in whatever subject that may be.
Yeah.
But even with that, you're going to talk to people in that subject group, and you can't just, just talk subject and not talk that individual.
Yeah. And by the way, too, if you or anyone else listening wants to hear and learn Paul Clifford's story and how he made his way to the CEO of the Penn State Alumni Association, he was actually on the podcast here in the very early on days of the show. He was actually episode 12 of this show. Yeah.
Richard Casey.
So
number 12.
So he was at, I think, at University of Oregon before he came back and got the job at Penn State. But he's got a really cool story, and he talks about how he leads that organization, and I'm like bragging about him here, but I'm grateful. I'm just so grateful.
Right.
Yeah. I'm grateful for the connection and everything he did, and it's
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It really is. Yeah.
So before we end, how can our listeners learn more about you and Courtright Associates? Or
well, what I generally say is that get on your favorite social media platform. I'm on it. I always tell the stories. It's going to sound a bit creepy, but I was golfing, and this was, I don't know how many years ago. And so I'm playing with a friend, and there's these two younger kids behind us, and they could barely old enough to drive the cart. And I said to them, listen, I'm a recruiter, I'm a networker. I don't want to make this sound creepy, but like, what are you guys into social media wise? And they said, Snapchat. I got on Snapchat. I can't tell you how long I was on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these things before I ever used it. But I said, if there's a platform, I'm getting on it, because I need to be where the people are, and I need to get them. I don't know what it is. I tell people. One person knew this. I said, you know what Cyberdust? Well, Cyberdust was. One person I talked to, one person, yeah. It was Mark Cuban's Snapchat, and it died. I'm still registered on it. That's a long way of saying, whatever your favorite social media platform is, get on it, and I'm there. And if not, say, hey, Bob, you missed this one, get on it. Where do I spend, more directly to the question, I spend most of my time on LinkedIn. But I do spend time on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Most of it's on LinkedIn. So you'll probably easier to get me on LinkedIn. My website is Courtright Associates, CourtrightAssoc.com. And it's a crappy website, except that I really only set it up if it's /openings/ I have it set up so when you're looking for jobs, I just tell people, forget about the other crap I put on.
Here's the link.
Yeah, just go and you see. They don't care how important I think I am or which shows I'm on or whatever. They care about what the openings are. So that's where it is. But I live on LinkedIn. I still spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, and that's probably the quickest way to get to me. But I search these things constantly. I'm always on them. But that's probably the most direct way. And again, the website is essentially there, so you can look at what openings I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, man. This has been fun.
It's been a ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been fun. Whatever. I don't even know how much time went by. It felt like 5 minutes.
This is
I'm sure a lot.
This is it might be actually a record for the longest
my
episode.
God.
Yeah, but it felt like 2 minutes.
It really did.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God. I didn't even need a drink.
No, nothing.
Alcohol, water, what did I had a little bit of water. I didn't want to cheat. I
yeah.
did have a little bit of water.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was a ball.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. And looking forward to seeing you at some NEPA Networkers events, and hopefully we're going to kick off Power again maybe.
I cannot wait, and I can't tell you because people ask me about it all the time, and it's such a good vibe. And you guys, just so friendly and everything. So I'm looking forward to it, and we're out there doing the NEPA Networker thing, but looking forward to Power. There's an energy, there's something that I think that people still want. And so I don't know about you. I get a little concerned about, we put a lot of things on pause for 9 months, 12 months, 24 months. And is it really going to come back? And I'm confident. I'm sure you are. I'm confident that Power is going to be as or more successful than it was. And I'm very much looking forward if we can get that going again.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Bob Courtwright and Associates on the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door Studio. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you as well.
If you'd like to learn more about the On the Stacks podcast, be sure to search the hashtag #OnTheStacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. We'll catch you next time on the Stacks.